Imagine this: a Roman legion, one of the most disciplined and powerful military forces of the ancient world, disappears into the mists of history. No graves, no battlefield, just silence. What happened? Rumors suggest that remnants of this Roman army may have somehow ended up in China. How could an army of Rome's finest soldiers have disappeared from Europe and potentially reappeared in the Far East? What if the 9th Legion didn't succumb to a defeat? Did they survive? Or did they meet their end in Britain or somewhere else? Let's look into this further. Before we march into the mystery of Rome's missing 9th Legion, let's first step back and understand the empire they served and the elite military force they belonged to. The Roman Empire wasn't just a superpower, it was a well-oiled war machine. Its legions were the backbone of its dominance, forged through years of brutal training, discipline, and relentless conquest. By 200 BC, Rome had secured the Italian peninsula. Over the next 2 centuries, its legions swept across Greece, Spain, North Africa, the Middle East, Gaul, and even the mist-shrouded island of Britannia. Among these legions, one stood out for its reputation, its legacy: the 9th Legion, Hispana. Born in the fires of the Roman Republic and hardened on battlefields from Spain to Germania, the 9th earned its place as one of Rome's most trusted fighting forces. The 9th Legion was formed around 65 BC. It earned its reputation by fighting in Hispania, modern-day Spain, under the command of Julius Caesar. After many successful campaigns, including fighting during the Roman conquest of Britain, the 9th became legendary for its valor and ability to adapt. By the time they were stationed in Britain, around 43 AD, they were a key military force tasked with maintaining control over the rebellious British tribes. The 9th Legion fought in several important battles, and by 117 AD, they were based in the northern territories of Britain, close to the famed Hadrian's Wall. The 9th Hispana Legion, as they were known, was over 5,000 elite Roman soldiers, stationed in the wild north of Britain, simply disappeared around 120 AD. This was their last recorded presence. The historical records after that are strangely silent. No one knows what happened to them after this point. There are no military reports, no accounts of victories or defeats. The 9th simply disappears from Roman history. Historians have debated their fate for centuries. Were they slaughtered by native tribes? Quietly disbanded by Rome? Or is there a truth far stranger, one that leads us thousands of miles away, to the heart of Asia? Could they have crossed the known world and survived, hidden in a foreign empire? It sounds impossible, but fragments of historical records, cryptic clues, and curious coincidences have led some historians to ask a daring question. Did the 9th vanish, not in Britain, but survived, and possibly could they have reached Asia? There are many theories surrounding the 9th Legion's fate, ranging from plausible to extraordinary. Here are 3 of the most plausible theories. Traditionally, it's believed the 9th met its end in northern Britain, ambushed by fierce tribes like the Caledonians or Picts. Roman historian Tacitus mentions heavy resistance, but offers no final account of the legion's fate. Archaeological digs at Eboracum, modern-day York, confirm their presence around 108 AD. But then, they vanish from British records. This is highly unusual because Romans are well regarded for their record-keeping, especially on their military campaigns. Some suggest the 9th was simply relocated to Germania or Judea and later destroyed in those campaigns. But here's the problem. No Roman inscription, no grave marker, no roster mentions their fate. Not a single Roman historian records their destruction. Once again, this was an empire that was obsessed with record-keeping. This is a glaring absence to be omitted or unrecorded. That is the mystery. In 1957, a Chinese historian named Homer Dubs proposed a wild theory that survivors of the 9th Legion were captured, sold as mercenaries, and eventually made their way to ancient China. According to Dubs, he argues that a Chinese source dating to 5 AD states that there is a city in western China with the name Liqian, meaning Rome, and that in 54 BC, many thousands of Roman soldiers had been captured by the Persians and moved to the east of the Persian Empire in Margiana. Because of this, there were many Romans in the area at the time for this theory to be plausible. Also, he indicates that, in 36 BC, a Chinese campaign in nearby Sogdiana, a region of present-day Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, seems to describe Roman soldiers fighting with the Hun armies against the Chinese, and around 145 of them who were captured by these Chinese were likely moved into China. According to this account, around 36 BC, the soldiers fighting against the Chinese army used an unusual battle formation and tactic, one that resembled the Roman testudo, or tortoise formation, where soldiers interlock their shields to form a protective shell. This provides a clue that a foreign military group possibly came through Asia Minor and could have ended up in the Far East. Dubs speculated that these foreigners could have been the remnants of the 9th Legion, who, after being captured or displaced during wars with Rome's enemies, were sold into slavery or conscripted into other armies, eventually winding up in China. The most tantalizing piece of this puzzle comes from the modern-day village of Liqian, located in the Gansu province of northwestern China. The name Liqian itself may be derived from the word legion. Some residents of Liqian have physical characteristics, blonde hair, blue or green eyes, that are atypical of Chinese people in the region. Could these villagers be the descendants of Roman soldiers? Maybe so. What's really interesting about this village is that local DNA tests revealed some villagers carry genetic markers common in Mediterranean populations. Although, this seems unlikely because the DNA test could come from any aspect of migration after the Roman Empire. Also, let's not forget about the Mongols' empire. It did reach the doorsteps of the Roman Empire. As the Mongols conquered and pillaged throughout the expansion of their empire, the Mongols have significantly altered the DNA throughout the region, spanning from northern China all the way to Eastern Europe. Rome and Han China, once thought to have barely touched, may have secretly collided in the blood-soaked sands of Central Asia. While the story of the 9th Legion ending up in China remains speculative, the historical connections between Rome and China are not entirely out of the realm of possibility. Roman merchants did trade indirectly with China along the Silk Road, and some Roman coins have been discovered in ancient Chinese sites. Although these discoveries are not enough to prove that Roman soldiers made it that far, they do suggest that the worlds of Rome and China were not as isolated from each other as we might assume. So if the 9th Legion did survive and integrated into Chinese society, it would rewrite the known limits of ancient civilization. Nevertheless, the idea persists because it taps into something fundamentally mysterious about history. How could such a powerful, well-documented military unit vanish so completely? And could they really have traveled from the heart of the Roman Empire to the far-flung corners of China? Over 2,000 years later, this story still haunts our imagination. Could a Roman army have crossed the Eurasian continent and settled in China, far from home? Whether lost in the mists of Britain, wiped out by a rebellion, or traveling to the Far East, the truth may remain hidden in the shadows of time. But what we do know is that this mystery continues to fascinate historians, archaeologists, and storytellers alike. Drop your theory in the comments. Until the next one, remember, stay curious.